Are the machines quite noisy when they run?
No.
No?
No. If you're not careful, especially on now, if you're on gravel, then the steel wheels make a noise.
Yes.
But if I was running across a field and you had your back to me, I could sneak right up behind you with a steam engine.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, they're quite quiet. The only time when they're working, same as any engine, gas or whatever, if they're working they make more noise than when they're sitting idly. But, they're not that noisy, no.
Did you have an interest in steam locomotives?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I've ridden the one out of St. Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite interesting. Quite an experience. I rode it from St. Thomas to Dutton and back again, which is 20 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm glad I got the opportunity to do that, but not the same interest.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, you're confined. You got to have rails to run them, and whereas I can take mine across the field.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate this.
You're welcome. I
Right.
don't mind talking about it anymore. Like I say, I certainly wasn't too interested when I was a kid, but times change.
Mm-hmm. When did you really start to develop an interest again?
Probably after Dad died. At that time, Dad owned 2 engines, and I've got 3 brothers, so he left an engine to 2 of us. So all 4 of us got 2 engines.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I guess that's when I started being interested again, because I had something of my own.
Mm-hmm.
Ownership factor. But basically, that's we never missed a show. He died in November of '77, and we took the engines and went to shows in '78.
Mm-hmm.
We never missed any.
You all have engines now?
My younger brother and I own one together, so that's all he has. He owns a half an engine,
Mm-hmm.
and my next younger brother than myself owns our old original engine. And then my older brother, who was in Burford, he has one that's not runnable.
Mm-hmm. Some of the engines that are on display in museums, could they be put back in shape that they would run?
Oh, I'm sure they could, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that Goodison that's up at Lambton Museum,
Yes.
I'm quite sure could be runnable. It appears as though it's in pretty decent shape. But it would have to be all checked out, and the weather checked out and so on, but I'm quite sure it would run.
It'd be wonderful if they had a run.
Yeah.
Even if that's a stationary, right?
They have a stationary, but they've got a traction engine there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've got that big stationary that came out of Colis's lumber mill in Thedford.
That's the one with the huge wheel on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's.
They used to run the sawmill in Thedford.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also, in the later years, instead of running directly in the mill, they run a big generator with it and produced hydro. And then they run the sawmill on hydro, and they also had the tile yard, which was a mile away from them, and they run the tile yard with that hydro they generated from the steam engine.
Was it efficient to do so?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't think so at the time. When they shut that mill down and set up a brand spanking new one, mainly because the boiler needed work and they had to have quite a bit of work done. But efficiency-wise, it cost them a lot more for hydro than it did to hire a man to look after the boiler and the engine.
Mm-hmm.
So Is it efficient? Probably. Is it a lot more work? Definitely. I really honestly believe that that was the biggest reason that steam died. When gas tractors took over, when I'm going to be sawing, if I want to start sawing at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm in the mill at 6 to get the fire going and steam built up. The gas engine, you just walk out and hit a button at 8 o'clock and you're running.
Yes.
So I honestly believe that was the biggest detriment, or whatever you want to call it, that killed the steam engine, was the time. And basically anybody can push a button. You got to have a little knowledge in order to look after and run a steam engine. Here in Ontario now, we all have to be licensed. I've got a license to run that steam engine.
Yes.
And that only came in 5, 6 years ago. Before that, you didn't need one. And you have to be 16 now to run one.
So the 7-year-old have to wait a little while.
Yeah. Which I'm not all 100% in favor of. My son Jason, for example, was running our engine at shows when he was 9 years old. Now, I'd stack him up against anybody in the country as far as an engineer and running the engine's concerned.
Yes.
Of course, now he's 35, so, or will be shortly.
Yes. Yes.
And there's a lot of the older fellas that find it awfully hard to believe when I tell them that, well, that kid there, he's got 20 years experience. They don't want to believe that. But he does. He's got more than that. You know, it's an interesting hobby.
Yes.